Well, this was Sambe, my name is Sambe. Welcome back to the channel. That time of year again is the week of the start of the new Premier League season. It's 3 days away from City-Off at Anfield on Friday night between Liverpool and Bournemouth. That time of year again where I tell you my Premier League predictions 1 to 20, everything covered. Let's go. Starting from bottom top. Actually, before the start, I'm probably going to have to tell you how I got on last season, aren't I? Now, before you judge me, last season was a bit of an anomaly with Man United and Spurs being so far down. So I'm going to put myself a little bit of slack for that. I had both of them in the top 6 or 8, and they were, of course, 15th and 17th, respectively. I tipped up more and more West Ham as well. We were down there with Spurs United too. So from 38 points the season before, I was 78 points. I'm pretty sure, I'm just double check, I'm almost sure it's 78 points. Yeah, 78 points. Not good. Only one I got spot on was Arsenal, because Arsenal sorry is the bit, isn't it? So at the end of the day, so you see where I did that this year now. Yeah, very disappointing year last year. My worst year yet, I'm pretty sure. Can't be any worse this year, can it? So my aim is usually just to beat my score from last year, but I would like to get a bit better than 78, but a lot better than 78. So my aim is going to be to try get close or beat my 38 points from a couple of seasons ago. That's the aim. So starting in 20th place, I've gone with Burnley. We got the record, the damning record of the last 6 promoted teams to come up. Have all gone straight back down. I don't think there'll be any different for Stoke Park as Burnley, unfortunately for them. They had an exceptional defensive record in the Championship last season. Only conceded less than 20 goals, got promoted automatically. They had made some decent signs, but they had a lot lost players too. I started with Young Jones. They lost James Trafford to Man City. They had a buyback clause in him. He was a big reason of their great defensive record last season, but they're Burnley. And they did give up shots, but they're by far the best goalkeeper in the division last season in Trafford. So they miss him. And if it wasn't for him last season, their defensive record certainly wouldn't have been as good as it was. So he'll be a big miss. Josh Brownhill had by far the best season of his career last season, scoring 18 goals as a box-to-box midfielder in the Championship. He left the club at the expiration of his contract. So, them two the big misses. They had managed to keep hold of Maxime Esteve, their big French centre-half. He signed a new contract. And I had brought some good players in. Weiss, the goalkeeper, can't remember where he came from. He was in the number 1. Quincy Hartman came in at left back. He's a promising enough player. Plenty of excitement about him. Coming from somewhere Holland, I can't quite think of where it was. And also they have signed them. The main marquee signing has been Kyle Walker, bring him in from Man City. That's a fantastic piece of business for them. It's a great experience, but apart from Walker, I don't think they've brought in much other Premier League experience. They've brought in a few young players, a few wingers. Actually, so they have brought in a couple more Premier League players. Leslie Utkachukwu, who was on loan at Southampton last season, has gone on loan to Turf Moor for the season. He was at Southampton last season. They brought in from Chelsea. And Amanda Broya, they've also brought in from Chelsea. I hope for his sake he has a good season. He had that wonderful season for Southampton a couple of years ago. But he never really kicked on from there. And had a really bad injury issue since then too. So hopefully for his sake he can have a good season. And if Burnley can get 10 goals out of him, it does give him a big chance of staying up. I just don't think they've got enough experience. It's still a bit lightweight. Apart from Broya, if there's only many goals in that team, I'm not sure. I think they're struggling. I don't think their defensive numbers were the same as last season. I think they're going to go straight back down in 20th. I don't think they'll be as cut off this year though, but from Southampton to Ipswich and to the rest of last season. I think they have a chance of staying up, but it'll be a bit too much for me, I think, unfortunately. In 19th place, I'm going for a bit of a surprising one. It's not a promoted team. It's Brentford. Yeah. Sorry, Keith. Not that Keith Andrews is going to watch this, but no. I really hope Keith Andrews does do well at Brentford. He's Irish. Represents my country really well. Is very passionate about Ireland too, and speaks really well. There's a big joy on the leader of Ireland too. He really wants to see growth in Irish football. So I really do admire him for that. I just think this job's a bit too much. And the worry for Brentford that I have is I don't think they're a club that would twist on the manager too quickly. So if they start badly and it's not looking good for them, I can see them being reluctant to sack him. Because he is the guy that they've gone for and they want to back him as much as they can. What Brentford have to do is they have to have a succession plan lined up if disappointment doesn't get the plan. Because what they can't do is they'll be reluctant to sack him and then all of a sudden they drop and then hope of staying up. They have a very tough start on paper too, in terms of fixtures. He's a good man manager, he's a good communicator. As I said, I like him, I hope he does well. I don't think it's though. I do. And they haven't only lost Thomas Frank, but they have lost other three players, like Brian Bruno. There's a lot of speculation around Johan Vissa. I think he has been integrated back into first team training over the last little while, but Newcastle still took me for him. Christian Nordgaard, the captain, is left to go to Arsenal obviously as well. So apart from Collins, the goalkeeper Fletton is left too, although they haven't placed him well with Cleveland Taylor. So apart from Collins, who's been made the new club captain, they've had the whole tour that with the whole spine of that team ripped out and shooting the man in the dugout. So you do have to admire Brentford for appointing from within again. They have done it before with Thomas Frank issues. But that isn't championship though. Big difference from appointing someone and the threatened to us in the Premier League. It's unforgiving. They won't have that time to settle in as they might have had in the championship. Time waits for no man, and I think Brentford could struggle this year. I really do. Sorry, Brentford fans. And just to miss out on Premier League survival is the Leeds, I think. Yeah. In June and the start of July, I was pretty bullish about Leeds' chances of staying up this year. In June, it seemed like they might have been ready to part ways with Daniel Farke. That hasn't happened. they stuck by the man, which is, after getting promoted, it is the right thing to do. But Daniel Farke has always struggled to keep his teams, like when he was at Norwich, in the Premier League after staying up. Maybe they could argue that those two relegations they might have learned from. That's definitely a possibility. They have brought in big players this year, real tall physical players ready for the speed of the Premier League. They brought in Lucas Perry in goal. They brought in Ignacio Biol, who's a brilliant Southern Ireland from Udinese. He played for Slovenia in the Euros last summer and was one of the best players in the tournament. It was fantastic, it was. Beast is the best. They signed Gabriel Gudmundsson from Leo at left back. Sean Longstaff from Newcastle in midfield, along with Anton Stack, a really highly rated German midfielder. Lucas Lemaitre up front as well, and they're still looking for another striker to take the reins off Joe Pirro. Money is from Fulham, there's someone that they're after. Whether he'll go there, I'm not sure though. I do hope they just stay up, I really do. They're a big club, they deserve to be in the Premier League, but again, it's sort of similar to Brentford. I'm not sure the manager's going to be got out for it. And they might leave themselves at the stage where they have a slow start. They get someone to come in and improve them a bit, but ultimately they won't pay for that slow start. So when the rumours that Farke could leave were first coming out, I was thinking to myself, yeah, that does sound harsh, but I can understand that, I really can. But they kept Farke in the end. I think I might just go, it's just about. In 17 places, just about to stay up, just like they did last year. They went for Wolves. It's been a tricky couple of years for Wolves since Nuno left. They're not in the best state going into the season. They've obviously lost Cunha and Ryan Norrie this summer. They have replaced them. Obviously it's going to be very hard to replace those two players. But as for qualities, but they brought in John Arias from Fluminense, it was really good at the Club World Cup, and Fred Lopez from Celta Vigo. Not too convinced by that one. But John Arias does look a good sign. And I think he could be a new sort of maverick in that team. And ironically, they brought in a Wolf at left wing back, literally his name is Wolf. Wolf playing for Wolves. That's just meant to be, wasn't it? They brought him in to replace St. Norwood. £12 million, something like that. Decent player. Decent. But at the same level as Norwood, absolutely not. They have managed to sleep hold so far of the two centre midfielders, Joe Gomez and Andre. It's a big boost for them. So they're coming in, I think, a bit undercut. They're a little bit worse off than they were last season. And they weren't too far off it last season. Strand Larson has signed a permanent deal. So he had a really good first season. At Molineux last season, obviously Vitor Pereira came in and did a brilliant job last season. Defeated him right above water. I do wonder about him though. It seems to me when he came in, it seemed like he was sort of a quick fix. And whether he's done with the diet to take Wolves on and try to kick them on and push them on, I'm not sure. It doesn't seem to me like the project manager, it seems to me. It's someone who comes in and is effective for a year or 18 months, so I'm not sure how long he'll be out, to be honest. But if it was, I wanted him to stay for as long as possible, because it really made a difference with them last season. Really did. So Wolves did just about to stay up, and I'd say most Wolves fans would probably take that at the moment. I'm pretty sure that this next team will definitely take what I'm going to put them in 16th place, Sunderland. Yes, not just because we're playing them this weekend and I wanted to go easy on us. Sort of the opposite with Leeds. I was a bit convinced that we were going to go down 3 or 4 weeks ago, but some of the recent signings are really sort of made me think, okay, they might have a chance here. In June, they sort of signing his own uncut diamonds, decent players possibly, but not primarily proven. But that signing of Granit Xhaka is a top signing. It's not that he went to Bayer Leverkusen and couldn't get a game. He was a pretty big part of that team, and Sunderland have managed to bring him back over to the Premier League to play for the Black Cats. They've also brought in Ronaldo from Atletico Madrid at left back. And in the same position, they brought in former Hammer Artur Masawaki. Great to see him back in the league. They brought in Habib Diarra in midfield. 30 million big fee, but I was fighting around him. West Ham were influenced quite heavily too. They did lose Joe Bellingham to Dortmund, but they replaced him pretty well. But then Enzo Lafay was on loan there last season. A lot of Sunderland fans away, it's fighting about him. They brought him on a permanent deal. They brought in Tim Adingra from Brighton after the signing too. When he first came through at Brighton, there was a lot of excitement about him, but injuries and it meant that he couldn't really find a regular place in that Brighton team. Towby on the right, the Brighton too, is one of those uncut diamonds that aren't really Premier League proven, but they've got a good mix of Premier League proven players and some younger players that potentially could turn into gems for him. Robin Ruffs is doing in goal to replace Anthony Patterson. So they've had a good win this one. Very good window. They tried to get him a centre back out Dante from the cafe. They've had a very good window. Very good window. So I gotta say, I think they're going to break that mould of promoted teams going down. And they took potentially do a Brentford where they maybe stay in the league for a few years. 15 players have gone for Fulham. Yeah, Fulham. I think they had a bit of a drop off this year. They've hardly done any business this summer. Sometimes that can be a blessing in disguise, sometimes not. They brought in a backup keeper to Brighton Leno, or Comte. Their decent season last season. Could have been a lot better. They've got some really easy points at home against a promoted teams. They drew at home to Ipswich and Southampton. So it could have been a lot more. They were in that European picture for quite a while. They can stand still, and that's what it seems like they're doing. I have heard some of the fans talking that one day had said that they usually do like to do a late business when they see which players from other bigger clubs are going to be let go, so they can swoop in and loan them or get them in on cheap, which makes sense. I don't know if we'll do that with that this year for them. I think they will have a bit of a drop off at the 15th. Still good, I don't think that they might have some ways of relegation, but I don't think that'd be a real relegation battle. So 15th for 14th and then got Bournemouth. They've had a challenging summer at the back, it must be said. They've lost 4 out of 5 of their goalkeeper and back 4. Tep has gone to Arsenal. We're back on loan to Chelsea after his loan has gone to Arsenal. Kirk has Liverpool. Dean Hodgson to Real Madrid. And and then just today it's been confirmed that it is a ban used on the PSG. So to be fair, that shows how well Bournemouth have done last year, that those 4 players have arguably down to one of the 4 of the best 5 or 6 teams in the world. PSG, Real Madrid, Liverpool, Arsenal. That is a measure of how well they've done. They're bringing in a centre back from Lyon at the day. And then a big fee, that's a problem for Bournemouth now. Teams are going now that have money to spend, so they might have to pay over the odds for a few players, but they need to just get players in ASAP at the back, because at the moment, before the comes in, it will be Sansoi and James Hill at Anfield on Friday night. Yeah. I think they will go into the season. They have no issues with relegation, but they won't quite hit the heights of last season. They have managed to do polls so far of their 3 attacking players from last season, and Semenyo, Fiber, Evanilson, Centre Plus. So yeah, 14 no issues of relegation, but not really pushing for Europe, but they were at times last season. 13th place, Nottingham Forest. Another bit of a drop off here for Forest. They're going to be playing in the Europa League now, rather than the Conference League, after Crystal Palace had to drop down to the Conference League. That was confirmed yesterday. Doesn't say what it means, something that someone else benefits from, something like that. But anyway, that would be the difference between the Europa League and the Conference League is that it really is the Conference League and breeze or Premier League teams and breeze past the first, the group stage of each phase and start taking seriously in the quarterfinals or something. But the Europa League is a lot trickier, an awful lot trickier. They have to be at the very best to get out of each phase. They have to play close to this round of team. So I think there will definitely be a drop off in the league form. It's also something to consider that maybe teams could figure Forest their potentially. So glimpses of that at the end of last season. Teams letting them have the ball rather than letting them play on the counter attack. And there could be even something we saw at West Ham a few years ago. The year we won the Conference League actually, the league form took a hit for it, where Forest tried to evolve as a footballing team, and that can take a while to get used to too. They managed to keep over more than did White. Somehow, Mr. Marinakis got his way at the end, because, as you know, they always win. Not a dark Marinakis, actually. I'm not going to talk about him too much, but like, I either love him or I hate him, but I think if I was a Forest fan, I would love him because he's just so ambitious and so determined to get the very best. For a Forest, they lost Landa, but they brought in Dan Doyle from Bologna. I think that's a really good sign, actually. We really enjoyed it down at the Euros last summer. Quick, agile, good technically. That's a good replacement for Anthony Landa. The Tato of the last 4, which is a really strong point for them last season. But Sales, Murillo, and Milenkovic, Elena, and Williams. They do need a bit more in the field things at number 6. Abraham Sandara isn't really the one for them, so that's where they need to improve things. Yeah, I don't really any real relegation cover, but I think they will have a drop off this year with European football and potential adaptations to a new style of play as they try to evolve. In 12th spot, I'm going to go for Brighton, actually, yeah. I think they'd be a bit disappointed with that if you offered it to them. Now, lost Pedro. Might use Travis Belieber, but I think it was like a big fee to get him out of Brighton this summer. They brought in a couple of Greek forwards, Kostas and Simas. They were to me at some point in the season, but it wouldn't be straight away, I wouldn't imagine. Couple of good defenders they signed actually. Maxim the Kuiper of Club Brugge left back is coming in to replace Purvis. Estupiñán, who's gone to AC Milan. Think it AC Milan. Think so. Think it was Milan, yeah. They brought in Coppola from Hellas Verona. Bastandi on a free transfer from PSV. So they've added a bit of depth to that back four. Don't know what it's time to put Brighton 12th. A bit like Fulham, they were really inconsistent last year. Had some great results against the big teams. But they didn't beat any of the three. They relegated teams at home, which is bad, really bad. For a team that was going for Europe last season. They're still a young team. Hurst is a really young manager. He did a good season in the top flight last year. For his first year. I don't know why. I put my finger on it, why didn't they be in the bottom half? I just think they really. Top half is really stacked this year, I think. I think maybe there's a bit of unsettlement. Not in the camp, but they're not really the best team. I don't know Brighton 12th. And just above the rivals, I'm going over the FA Cup winners and now the Community Shield winners, Crystal Palace. It's been a difficult summer for Palace. As you know, after the UEFA ruling, they kicked them out of the Europa League into the Conference League. That has had an impact on their ability to sign players this year. They've kept hold of their main players so far, but a move for Eze is still potentially on the cards, as it is for Marquez, possibly even Matata, but they're ready to be bringing more players in there. That a European side is finally over. They've brought in two players that add a bit of depth. Walter Benitez as the backup goalkeeper on a free transfer, and Bernardo Souza for an incredibly cheap fee of £3 million to cover for Tyrick Mitchell at left wing back. Palace is a really, really good team. I saw that on Sunday. Really good at what they do, that front three. And Munoz when he gets forward too. But absolutely deadly, they really are. At the start of last season, they struggled to get down a bit because of it. How they played so what's the word, so specific, and the players didn't know what they're doing when they come in. So it took them a while to gel last season with the new signings. They've not made too many new signings this year, but they've also so far not lost too many. So they should theoretically just pick up where they left off at the end of last season. So then Palace could start quite well. They've got a brilliant chance of going all the way in that Conference League. Any Premier League team that's in that should expect to win it. Maybe towards the end of the season, once they get into the latter stages of that, they might switch their focus to that, as they try to make it back-to-back trophies. I'm not trying to tempt the Community Shield as a trophy, but they could make it to maybe even 3 trophies in 2 seasons. So for a club that hasn't won anything for so long, if you get 2 in a row, that'd be massive for Palace. It really would. Glasgow has completely changed the culture around that club. I like watching them play. I think they're going to have a good season. There's no reason why they can't win that Conference League. In 10th, yeah, haven't mentioned yet, going to go West Ham. I predicted us to get 7th this year. I'm not going to go that boyish, but I'm not dreading the season from West Ham point of view. I'm not. There was a stage in like earlier in the summer where we weren't signing players, and I was starting to get a bit worried about the new season and seeing the promoted team spending, thinking that we could be down there again, but I'm feeling pretty good. I'm not saying we're going to get top 4 or anything, but I'm steady enough season. Hopefully they'll win the cups. I think the core of our team now is strong. When you look at our starting 11, I think we need one more improvement where James Ward-Prowse is. But now we're looking at Matheus Fernandes from Southampton. I really love Jacob Ramsey off Aston Villa. If it's without him or James McAtee, but that's what he could be done. The Forest, but the other 4 team is pretty strong. We've not brought too many players in, which is always a pretty good sign actually for West Ham. Last summer we brought a whole new team in, didn't jack us enough, didn't work out. This year we brought in a couple of new first teamers, a couple of squad players. I think it's good. I don't know if I have this season. Hopefully, possibly in a race for Europe. I'd love to get back into Europe again. Hopefully we'll go for on the cups as well, so yeah, 10 days of best time. In 9 days, perhaps a little bit bold. I feel like I always predict Everton to do pretty well on these prediction videos. Don't know what it is. I predict them to do quite well this season as well. 9th place for Everton. David Moore is really building that team in his image, I think, this summer. At the end of last season was all just about bedding in, staying up. They did that at the counter. And this summer it's out. But it took them a little while to get going in the transfer market. But now they're really starting to bring in players in Moore's image too. I think it's going to make into really good players this season. They brought in Finn Dewsbury Hall as a 6. I mean, they will play as a 6. After Jack Grealish's rival on loan from Man City, they still got Ndoye there. They brought in Charlie Aguilas on a permanent deal. They brought in a left back from Bayern Munich called Adam Asner. They don't do it straight away, but at the time, he might force his way into the team. Past Michelangelo, they brought in to gain a Barry up top from Villarreal. He'll compete with Beto. I think Grealish will do really well there, Jack Grealish. We saw with them Moores, they were just injured at West Ham. They're the sort of players that he's likes to get hold of. Players who at big clubs lost away a little bit, bring them back down a little bit, and he's returning back into world beaters again. They still haven't died, really good player. Danny David really underrated in last season. Brilliant ball winner. 2 centre backs and Pickford also, obviously very strong. So I think they'll be in the European race, and then Moore's starting to get his fingerprints all over Everton season, and they're building a pretty good team. In 8th spot, I'm going to go for Spurs. What a jump that is, 17 to 8. Realistically, I think that's about most Spurs I hope for this season. I really do. Thomas Frank came in. I was up and down on Spurs all summer actually. When they came in first, I thought they'd struggle. Then they brought in Kyrgios, and they looked like they were bringing in Gibbs White. And I thought, okay, they might have a good season actually. Now, I'm back more on the side that they're going to struggle, which I hope to do obviously. But in West Ham fan, Thomas Frank coming in from Brentford is a big change, and it shouldn't be underestimated the difference of the expectation. How Spurs fans are going to expect them to approach things. They're not going to want them to be sitting back against, a Burnley on open days. There's going to be loads of crosses into the box. Maddison has just been ruled out for pretty much the whole season. But horrible ACL injury. I think they're going to really struggle for creativity this year. They will bring in a 10, you imagine. But there'll be loads of crosses into the box. There'll be inviting crosses on the box too. And when you look at that, like Porro and Fudgy and both that post, Romero's the beast in the air, but Van de Ven, for all his pace, is not the best in the air either. I think Spurs could struggle early down, and it might become a bit ominous for Thomas Frank actually. But I think some managers are suited to a draw by Brentford with expectations. Isn't really the same. They're advised there. Some managers and some players fit a draw by the clubs. I think Thomas Frank and Brentford was that. Spurs, I'm not sure. I think it's probably a bit of a challenge for him. 8th place for Spurs. 7th place and 7th, just in the Conference League spot. I don't want Newcastle United. I'll move on to the transfer stuff in a minute. In Champions League this season, we know how that went from last time. They really struggled in the league because of it. They had a amount of injuries. So they'd like to think Eddie Howe and his staff have learned from that, and they can do something different this time. But it's fair to say that that could have an impact on them in the league. On the transfer has been a really difficult summer for Newcastle. They missed out on numerous targets. They lost out on James Trafford and Doe. Ended up getting a Ramsdale. So they're going to get relegated. I'm joking. Brian Mbeumo, they missed out on him. The Man United brought Anthony Elanga. They thought they wanted to choose to. They went to Spurs. And it is outside. It is outside. I really respect Newcastle how they've tired themselves amidst this saga. Is I think it would have hurt some Newcastle fans about the prospect of selling these that, because when you're aspiring to be a big club, it's what Newcastle are, but they're a big club, but they're aspiring to be one of those top 2 or 3 in the league. So having the possibility of a sale of your best player can knock you back a bit. And the way these tie themselves has been a disgrace, but it's in a situation, I think, that's been very hard to win by, into a scenario where they might actually win in the side. Is that I might have Newcastle. They might have the money they want, but they've remained very clear on the stance that they're not going to just obey down to his needs and let him back in the team if the deal doesn't happen. The no dictate policy is something that they need. No player is bigger than the club. Newcastle want to be a big club, and they're behaving like a big club in the way that they're handling this sort of. For credit to Eddie Howe, I tweeted about it earlier. For credit to him, for credit to the club how they've handled themselves. And they also missed out on the fact that they wanted to replace it. Is that the other thing that my boy is that Hugo at the Tuesday went to Liverpool, and Newcastle wanted him to replace it. Is that so it's been very difficult summer for Newcastle. I don't think the impact of the Champions League should be underestimated. They will bring in forward at some point, no matter whether that stays or not. Johan Bissett has been the one talked about Moses. That would be a pretty significant downgrade, and this has only done it for 1 year in the Premier League, or Premier, maybe it's an idea. 2 years, and they lost out on Sesko too. So many failures in this window for Newcastle, but they do deserve big credit for how they've handled the is outsider. 7th for Newcastle. Now into the top 6, and another club that I've had a slight challenge this summer is Aston Villa. I'm predicting them to finish in 6th, just like they did last season. They have also had a slight challenge this summer, not as bad as Newcastle. They've only really made one signing of note for the first team in Grossland, the right side forward, coming in from Nice. They have kept most of the players. They were in a bit of PSR trouble, but they were able to ship out the women's team. So I don't really like the idea of that, by the way. I think I tweeted at the time. I don't really agree with that. But they didn't have to sell any of their first team players because of that. There is still some that could lose. Jacob Ramsey, I really hope he comes to my club. They've kept Watkins, they decided to get Martinez. So they're pretty good as they were, and they were good last season. They were in the Europa League this season with the Champions League. That is a competition that they're definitely capable of going far in. Yeah, they will be sort of similar last year. But it really can't be underestimate how valuable back-to-back seasons of European football can be for teams that have the Champions League. A couple of seasons ago, the Europa League this season, and at the Conference League before the Champions League, so they could make it 4 seasons in a row in Europe. Yeah, 6 for me. In 5th, and a potential European spot, or Champions League spot potentially, I'm going to go for Ruben Amorim's Man United. I don't have a much better season this year. They've been down once a week. They brought some top quality players into the team. And all of a sudden now they have a really good team actually. The front three has been revamped completely. They've kept hold of Bruno Fernandes. The one position they do need an upgrade in is in goal. It's been some talks of Donnarumma. Can't really see that happen, to be honest. Why would it be PSG for Man United, no offence. Bruno, Cunha, and Sesko now as well, but Bruno Fernandes deeper, Amad Diallo to one side. They're just rushing goals next year, United. They've all kicks. They've had a good pre-season. They won the Summer Series in America. Beating West Ham by 1 point. They won nearly 2 trophies in one summer after they won the Boys Sports Cup. Yeah, I think they have a good season. They're decent defensively under Ruben Amorim for the majority, but they really lack the spark in the attacking areas of the pitch. So I think that new front three were getting that and had a much better season. 5th for United. Now I would imagine if you're an Arsenal fan, you might want to switch off now. I'll give you a couple of seconds. In 4th place, I'm going to go for Arsenal. Yeah, I really do think that. They haven't proved the side this summer. They really have dramatically as well. Brought in Gyökeres, brought in Zubimendi, brought in cover for Royce for Zubimendi. But Norgard, so they haven't proved the team, just they had to. So they brought in Madueke, who played probably in the left. So they have improved the team, but I think Liverpool and City and the third team I don't put just above them, they've improved drastically. Not just a couple of players here and there, they've improved drastically. I'm not sure Arsenal have done that. Jeff Perez will have to come in and hit the ground running straight away. Then using the play that does minimum this season to give them a chance to win the league. They could bring it in as a still heavy link between him and them. I just don't think they made drastic enough changes to the squad to warrant them being title winners this season. I really don't. I do think the top four would be pretty far ahead of the rest of the season. So Arsenal fourth. They haven't improved the first 11, but I think the three teams above them have improved the whole squad drastically. But this season, and rightly so I think, there's going to be good pressure on Mikel Arteta to deliver something, I think. I think the league is something hard to win. The Champions League very hard to win too. But they need to get something. Football fans always want to see progress. And they haven't really made it. They've been second the last 3 seasons. So I think they just need a cup or something. They need something to keep them going in the meantime while they search for that lead title that they've been so desperate to really have. So, no Arsenal fourth, but big pressure on them to try to get something on the tops. In third, one of those teams who have improved their whole squad drastically and ended up with Chelsea. Club World, Club Champions, Conference League winners, top 4 last season. Brilliant first season for Enzo Maresca, and they have kicked on this summer. They brought in Joao Hato at the back. They brought in Jamie Gittins on the left, Joe Pedro, Liam Delap, and the usual young players today. So I had to end up there. They really have improved the whole squad drastically. They've got more than enough players to deal with the Champions League in midweek. They're very, very, very flexible tactically. All of the different ways they can play. Qualities all over the pitch. I think Chelsea are a bit more consistent about them. The Arsenal have too many draws, and Chelsea have more ways they can play than Arsenal. I do think they might even be in the title race for a while. They were last season, they a bit of a fall off around Christmas, and they hadn't had that put them in right in the title race last season. So I don't see it being too much different. They're very, very consistent. Maresca's had a fantastic first year. He's exceeded my expectations of him so much. I've got for Chelsea third. And for the top 2, it's between Liverpool, the holders, or Man City, who last year was the first. They haven't won it in a while. Last year was obviously really disappointing for Man City. I do feel they've got their spark a bit back though. Towards the end of last season, it was all just about getting that top 4 over the line, making sure they got that. They brought in new faces to re-energise the whole squad. I think we could see a bit of a different City this year. Ed Norwich has come in, Churches come in, Manouchius been given chances to bet in. Reinders has come in. Roger won't be off at the start of the season, but he will be back probably after the first international break, after a setback he suffered after the Club World Cup. Ryan Kirky, don't think I mentioned him. They completely revamped the whole squad. This summer, I think Pep has found that spark again that he was missing at some point last season. I think they're determined to right their wrongs last season. I don't think this reign of Man City's dominance is over by any means. there is still someone over that has to be winning out players like Bernardo Silva, Israel Gundogan, perhaps Ruben Diaz, Edison. Yeah, aren't necessarily saying we're really enjoyed them. Liverpool have had an extraordinary transfer window. Bringing in Hugo, Ekitike, possibly Isak, Florian Wirtz, Cortez, Frimpong, Cortez Isaac Reynolds, Mamada Philly was in a while ago, but he's coming in now to provide competition to Everton in a lot better to Addison and Dole. We could potentially overtake them at some point too. Gravenberch was great last season. I just don't think it's always that easy when you sign that many players for all to just sit straight away. Not company's house at Liverpool this season. So it is obviously unknown and effects and the terrible passing of the Liverpool dropped that, and it's unknown how that might affect the squad or affect every player differently. So I don't know how that's going to affect them. I just feel like City are back, I really do. They're going to be so determined to like that. This era of abundance and remember the bad last season, the bad season last season, but still managed to comfortably finish top 4. They plugged the gap in that midfield towards the end of last season. Played more midfielders, tightened up in the middle of the pitch. I think this season, despite their perhaps like sooner than they would have wanted loss at the Club World Cup, I think they did look like they found that spark again in the Club World Cup. That bit of sharpness, zest back in their attacking play. I think Phil Foden had a good season when City came back. And then got Liverpool second and Man City first. So my predictions again. Thank you very much for watching. I will actually very quickly just reel off my whole predictions from bottom top. 20th Burnley, 19th Brentford, 3rd and 18th Leeds, 17th Wolves, 16th I've gone for Sunderland, 15th Fulham, 14th Bournemouth, 13th Nottingham Forest, 12th Brighton, Palace in 11th, 10th West Ham, 9th Everton, 8th Spurs, 7th Newcastle, 6th Villa, 5th Man United, 4th Arsenal, 3rd Chelsea, 2nd Liverpool, 1st Man City. Thank you very much for watching this year's Premier League predictions on this couple of days now. Over the next couple of days I will put up a video of my FPL team for Game 1. If you want to see some more FPL content this season, tell me in the comments and I will do so. Thanks very much for watching. Like, comment and subscribe for more. We'll see you soon. Bye!